You may think it's a little extraordinary to have an adult talking to children about nuclear bombs, but that's what we did back then. We also start that radio test, the test of the emergency broadcasting system. That first shows up. That thing was created in case of a nuclear event. Now, since then, of course, it's been used for like severe weather events and things like that. But it was created for that. And, of course, we get the popularity of the fallout shelter. These were things you could order through the mail, and they would send you everything you need, and the husband would go out in the backyard, and he would build his family their own personal fallout shelter where they could go if a nuclear attack came. The one on the cover of Life there looks pretty nice. Also, if you're in a downtown area, you might see that nuclear symbol there at the top, there on the top left, that says fallout shelter. And those are places that have been prepared in your downtown, as well as mine, here in Austin, where you could go in case of a nuclear attack. By the way, if the bomb fell on your downtown, it wasn't going to help you. But if there was radioactivity in the air, this is a place you could be safe. Of course, this led to a lot of psychological drama of its own. What do you do if your family has a bunker and you get into your fallout shelter, and then your neighbors come over, your 8-year-old son's best friend is beating on the door, help, help, but you've only got room and space for your family? Do you just let them die? And many people concluded that maybe it wasn't really worth living in this post-apocalyptic environment. Prosperity and science also feed extreme optimism, though. There's two sides of this coin. The New York Times in August of 1945 said this: "This new knowledge can bring to this earth not death but life, not tyranny and cruelty, but a divine freedom." There was a hope that this would be a technological advance that would revolutionize the standard of living all around the world. In fact, 2/3 of Americans believed the secret of the atom would do more good than harm. And nuclear power plants began to be built all across the U.S., with no notion that these nuclear power plants could potentially themselves hold danger.
Hey, Bert, come on out and meet all these nice people, please. Oh, all right. We really can't blame you. You see, Bert is a very, very careful fellow. When there's danger, this is the way he keeps from being hurt. Sometimes it even saves his life. That's why these children are practicing to duck and cover just as you do in your school. We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous. Since it may be used against us, we must get ready for it, just as we are ready for many other dangers that are around us all the time. Fire is a danger. It can burn whole buildings if someone is careless. But we are ready for fires. We have a fine fire department to put out the fire, and you have fire drills in your school so you know what to do. Automobiles can be dangerous too. They sometimes cause bad accidents, but we are ready. We have safety rules that car drivers and people who are walking must obey. Now, we must be ready for a new danger, the atomic bomb. First, you have to know what happens when an atomic bomb explodes. You will know when it comes. We hope it never comes, but we must get ready. It looks something like this. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen. If you were not ready and did not know what to do, it could hurt you in different ways. It could knock you down hard or throw you against a tree or a wall. It is such a big explosion, it can smash in buildings and knock signboards over and break windows all over town. But if you duck and cover like Bert, you will be much safer.
Nuclear weapons had two contradictory and simultaneous impacts on our psychology here in America. We sometimes call this period the Age of Anxiety because of the fear of nuclear weapons and the fallout and the long-term impact of them. But there was also, during this time, a great deal of excitement about the potential of nuclear power. There was an idea that we could abandon old sources of power and make cheap, available power all over the world that was relatively clean and, at the time, we believed, safe. The anxiety of the period is really powerfully expressed in a new style of filmmaking. It's actually caused by economic realities. Color film is much more expensive to do. And so low-budget movies that tend to work in black and white because it's cheaper will effectively use shadow and kind of different areas of the grayscale to make these really powerful movies. We call this film noir. Noir, of course, meaning night or black. But they also, in terms of their content, they express a dark vision of anxiety. There's an enormous loneliness present in most film noir movies, and the characters live in an impersonal, often brutal, indifferent world. which is often seen as kind of the psychological landscape of post-war America. The characters are often have uncontrollably destructive tendencies. Oftentimes it focuses on private detectives and a lot of crime stories, a lot of kind of uncontrollable passion and corruption, these sorts of things. If you've never seen some of these movies, you should definitely check them out. They're some of the greatest films ever made. But they do contribute to this very and reflect this very bleak worldview that follows World War II. You can also see this in TV series like The Twilight Zone, which frequently had episodes featuring end-of-the-war motifs. There's a very famous episode down there on the bottom where a guy who doesn't really like people and likes to read survives some sort of world-ending event. I think it's a nuclear catastrophe. But then he breaks his glasses so he can't read books. It's ironic, I suppose. But lots of these sort of post-apocalyptic stories. In comic books, in a period before we have superhero comics, there were comic book series about atomic war in World War III. You would think this would be one issue long, but no, it wasn't. They just did it over and over again. But the appeal of these stories reflects the nation's anxiety about this nuclear future. It's hard to escape thoughts of the bomb. Even at school, when you would go to school back then, they would teach you what to do in case of a nuclear attack. Hide under the desks, because that's going to help.